Betsy DeVos, fuck yourself, buddy. This is Corey, and this is the O The Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 327 of the O The Anthem podcast, coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for joining us on your podcatcher of choice. The finest way to find it is anchor.fm/O The Anthem, with direct links to wherever you listen to your podcast, so you can check us out on your preferred method.
And if you're watching live as we record this on Monday night on any of the available places to do that, make sure you leave us a comment or a question. We can get those live in studio as we record, or join the Discord channel. All of those comments go directly to Discord where we see them, or you can just comment directly on the Discord channel and we'll discuss all your points. We already have some people following us in the Discord channel, so we're going to make sure and get those comments in at the appropriate time.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so kicking off from the top, doing something a little bit different. We're going to get, doing something a little bit different than us, but not from the rest of the world. We're going to talk about Trump at the top. How about that? So this week, my stuff is all out of sorts. Here we go. And so this week, Trump, not failing to disappoint. And by the way, Corey, I didn't have this on the on our list, but I want to add this in. On one day, let's call it Wednesday, Eminem says, anybody who doesn't wear a mask is a punk and I'm coming for them.
Yeah.
The next day, Thursday, Trump wears a mask for the first time in public. And I think that we just need to come to the realization that Eminem can solve all the ills of our society with a well-placed rap.
I would say yes and no, because I think there's a lot of people who would argue that Eminem has also raised animosities in a lot of different respects. So
okay,
if
so
you
maybe
ask,
that's
if
true.
you ask people in the gay community when he was first coming out, I don't know if he was so bringing us all together in this moment of peace. But
I mean, I would say that
I respect the fact that at the very least I realize that Trump must have had the realization, like, I like to pick fights with people, but this is not the one to do.
No.
I've seen the whole movie where he eviscerates people left and right. I don't need any part of this. I don't need to be left wetting my pants at the rap battle at 8 Mile, you know? Like,
so I think, didn't he already do an anti-Trump rap too? Like, just when he got sober?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Right when he got sober, he was like, all right, I'm going to do a freestyle on Trump. And
I think it was something that they did at, like, not the Grammys, but was it the BET Awards, where he was like in a parking garage or something like that?
He wasn't there. He was somewhere else. They recorded it.
Yeah, there was just like 15 people in a parking garage and like M rapping to no beat,
yes,
but like still like eviscerating like everything. Yeah.
By the way, the ability to just like have a beat in your head and stay on that beat while you're just, making it up as you go along. Things I will never be able to do. Yeah. But hold on for Stupid. Stupid, the parody cover is coming. I'm so excited for it. But back to the real news. So Roger Stone, you've heard us talk about him before. What was his position in the administration?
He wasn't really, I don't think he had an official position per se. I think he was more like Trump gadfly, if that makes any sense. Like, the gadfly is the type of person who just sort of hangs around. He's in the ether of what's going on, but he's not necessarily an official part.
And a Republican hanger-on for his entire life.
Yeah.
Has a giant Nixon tattoo on his back, right?
Yeah, it's... I like the John Oliver line of, it's too big and not big enough at the same time.
Yes, absolutely right. But so, as we were trying to perform it, you'll see him over here to my side if you don't know who he is. And you may not recognize this particular picture because he's not wearing, the blacked out dark shades that make him seem like some sort of insect that he would usually
his penguin
typically
look,
wear.
Yeah.
But
in a world full of Bond villains between Elon Musk and Roger Stone.
And the Hunger Games villain of Elon Musk's mother. Like, just things are 2020's wild, man. It's wild.
We need a Batman.
Didn't Eminem play a Batman-esque character at some point? No, he was Robin.
Yeah.
To Dr. Dre's Batman.
Yeah.
That's
so we need to get Dr. Dre doing shit. That's where we come around on this.
Well, we should have started him 9 years ago because it's going to take forever at this point. Trump will be out of office no matter what. Back to the topic, Roger Stone. So the reason we're talking about him this week is not because he entered prison, which, by the way, should have been the news round about these times. We're talking about him because just as he was about to enter prison, President Trump saw fit to commute his entire sentence. Mm-hmm. And unlike General Flynn, who also was commuted, or I don't know if he was commuted or just... So there's a difference. Commutation means that you are released.
You're still guilty, but you don't do the jail, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember if Flynn was like
I don't think he was pardoned.
No,
or clemency, maybe?
Maybe clemency.
Yeah.
These all have very different meanings, but I think to Trump, it's just like, give him the thing.
Get him out of jail.
Yeah.
Get him the get out of jail free card.
And I think you put this super succinctly in our discussions ahead of time. So General Flynn took a deal.
Yeah.
They had him dead to rights on lying, perjuring himself because he basically gave two different pieces of testimony at different times.
Yeah.
So you've perjured yourself. And he admitted to that and then eventually was granted clemency or a pardon from Trump.
Yeah.
Roger Flynn pushed his
Roger
trial.
Stone.
Roger Stone.
Yeah.
Roger Stone pushed his trial to a jury.
Yeah.
And you said in our pre-show discussions, like
the oh-so rare federal jury, too.
Which, by the way, imagine getting called for that. And you're just like, oh, this is easy. I'm not going to have it. Nope, 9-week trial for Roger Stone. Awesome. But he sat there. He was a good boy. He didn't name any names, and he let them tear him apart, knowing that if he did that, he would get a commutation from Trump.
Yeah.
And he made him sweat it out a little bit because the trial ended in the fall, and he was supposed to report for jail this time of year, or maybe early spring. Time has no meaning anymore. I can't remember when the trial ended.
I think he was sentenced recently, but it was one of those sentences that only rich people get, which is we're sentencing you to prison. Come sometime around July, and we'll fit you in.
Turn yourself in sometime in the summer.
We're going to give you a quarter to get your finances in order before you have to go away to jail. Just let us know if July works for you. And
oh, what it must be like.
We'll get you in there Q3.
Listen, I am not one to say I'm not a beneficiary of white privilege, but not even we can claim that kind of white privilege. That's just a whole different level. But yeah, so it became time for him to turn himself in, and Trump made him sweat all the way to essentially when that time came, and then commuted his sentence. So now he will not have to serve a day. I think you're right in so much as he remains guilty,
right?
But he doesn't have to serve the time.
I think they're maybe in Barr's mind, because I think Bill Barr was against the idea of commuting a sentence at all because it didn't look good.
Yes.
Which, welcome to 2020, Bill Barr. Finally, you've learned a little bit of what looks good and what doesn't look good. But
and by the way, still doesn't have a good grasp on it because half the things he does doesn't look good. But that's okay. All right,
I guess a broken clock is right twice a day. So.
You're getting it, yeah.
But yeah. What really bothers me is that it's the statements that come out after the fact. So the White House released a statement going, he was guilty of being a part of the witch hunt that, ensnared so many innocent people in its grasp and blah, blah, blah. And the part that, Roger Stone was found guilty. He went to trial and was found guilty. Flynn, twice to a judge, said, I am guilty of the things that.
Yes.
Flynn was before sentencing, I feel like.
Because he took the deal on the stuff they knew they had him on to avoid all the other stuff that they didn't have him on.
Right, but twice he was. It was basically, to use a football metaphor, on the 1-yard line of him going to jail. It was. They were finishing up the last little steps. They were trying to figure out which quarter he was going to enter jail into. They were at that part of the.
Because remember, he struck a deal. And then they found out that he lied in his statement of facts that gave him the deal. So they added charges, and then he struck another deal where he had to be entirely truthful.
Right.
And he was, but because he agreed to take the perjury charges rather than being an unregistered foreign agent. I feel like that was the other one too, right? For Turkey, maybe?
Yeah.
Then he didn't have to talk about all the Trump stuff. And be a good boy and don't talk about Trump, and then he'll get rid of your sentence.
Right.
And he did for both of them. Although Flynn got it shortly after his sentencing rather than just before he was going to be reporting.
Right.
And I really wanted to talk about this because not only has it been 122 days since Breonna Taylor was murdered and her killers are still walking around free among us.
Yeah.
In fact, they've been fired, but they are qualified to be police somewhere else in the country.
Right.
If somebody doesn't have Google, but.
But there's some police department somewhere in the country that's just like, yeah, we'll take them.
Looking for cops like that.
We're the safe harbor for every awful cop you've ever known.
You could make the argument that would be the LAPD. They're like, what? Yeah, we'll take them. It's fine. But I really wanted the thing that's so stark is that I was reminded this week of Khalif Browder.
Yeah.
who was a young man who I believe when he first entered prison was under 18. He was in Rikers Island for 3.5 years, 2.5 of which was in solitary confinement, awaiting trial. And if you look through the record, it's just like state request postponement. They go there on trial day, and the state's like, oh, our cop witness is not available. And apparently what they never revealed to the judge is the guy was on the lam. One of their witnesses wasn't really a cop. He was a CI, and he went on the lam to Mexico, and they couldn't get him back. Meanwhile, and he was charged with second-degree assault, robbery and second-degree assault. And he just waited in jail for 3.5 years for a charge that then he was released because finally they were forced to admit that they could not get this guy on extradited back to the U.S. as a witness because there was no charges against the CI. They just needed him as a witness.
Yeah.
But apparently there may have been in another jurisdiction, which is why he didn't want to come back. Yeah. So Kalief Browder never found guilty of any crime, pre-trial detainment for 3.5 years. And then later on committed suicide after coming back into society. And no one knows the reasons why these things happen. It's someone's very personal decision, but we can maybe take from that it's hard to go from solitary confinement for 2.5 years.
That perhaps the things that led to this wouldn't have accelerated to the point where he would have made that kind of decision if not for...
In the documentary, he talks about doing things in prison that he was not that guy, but you got to do what you got to do to survive in prison. Yeah. So if he hadn't been on pretrial detention, he wouldn't have had to do those things, and maybe it would not have led to his death.
Well, I mean, like I think a lot too about like, you know, people who were in the gun trace task force wake, the people who are arrested by the officers. Yeah. There's all these stories of you're in jail on a bail of $10,000, and $10,000 is impossible. $1,000 to get a bail bondsman is impossible for some of these people. And they know that at the end of the day, all the cops have to do is come in and testify and say, oh, I found drugs in his car. And there's not really shit he can do about it. Even if he knows in his mind there were no drugs in the car. And you can make this argument in court like, the cops are lying to you and I'm not going to do this. And then at some point towards the end of the trial, your lawyer looks at you and says, listen, it's not going well. Yeah. We have an offer on the table. You could be looking at 2 years if you take the plea or 10 years if you don't. And I can't guarantee you that you won't get 10 years. So you might want to think about the plea. And then you take the plea. And then all of a sudden, after the fact, the day you go into jail, they find that the cop was planting drugs on people. Yes. And they're dismissing cases left and right. But you pleaded guilty because you took the plea.
So it doesn't matter.
And your effort of trying to get that guilty plea on a plea deal taken away is so much more difficult than if you had just fought the case and lost it and sentenced to 10 years and then getting out early, as opposed to pleading guilty to something that you didn't do to save yourself years on the back end.
I watched the Outcry documentary, which is about this kid in Texas. And basically that he does go to trial. He's found guilty, but he's facing 2 charges of super aggravated sexual assault of a child. 25 to life for both charges. Yeah. And the deal that the state offers him is to run concurrent, not subsequent. Yeah. And he's like, his attorney's like, listen, so here's what you're facing. The rest of your life or just most of it? What do you feel like here? And he's like, no deal. So then he, when he's found guilty, he then says, all right, state's coming back to us again. If you waive your right to appeal, then they'll argue for concurrent, not subsequent. Or, God, I can't remember what the other term is.
Consecutive?
Consecutive. Yeah, not concurrent, not consecutive. So he does take that deal. And then essentially the state uses that against him for the rest of the time. He's said he's innocent the whole time. And they're like, well, if he's really innocent, why would he take that deal? Like, well, you already found him guilty. This is the way he could get out of jail at some point.
The other thing is, too, just like, anyone who's listening to us is well aware of our discussions about how improper and unfair the justice system is. But I think so often about Keith Davis specifically because he's got a medical condition, meaning that he was shot in the face and he is slowly dying from it. And
he didn't have that before he met the Baltimore City Police
Department.
And
has never had the opportunity to properly have that mended And it seems like, I'm sure the state's attorney will make a different argument for it. But it seems like they're trying to do anything they can to keep his time in jail as long as possible in hopes that he succumbs to his injuries finally before they actually go to court and realize that this whole thing is a house of cards.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, the worst part is that at the most recent court hearing, they basically said, this is all bullshit. Like that guilty plea doesn't mean anything because there are so many things that went wrong in the state's prosecution of him along this progress that you are going to have to start all over again, which would mean charging him for a sixth time.
Yes, this will be the sixth. So now remember, he was found guilty of one charge on the first trial,
right?
Which made no sense because he wasn't found of being. He was found in firing a weapon. Which he had a previous conviction, so he wasn't supposed to be in possession of a weapon. So by default, firing it, that gives him a guilt. He has to go to jail. But the jury did not find him guilty of being in possession of a weapon. Right. Only firing the weapon. And it's
that he didn't have possession of.
How does that make any sense? But apparently there was some negotiating back in the jury room, and they're like, all right, you think he's guilty of something. Let's make a deal on one of these charges. And come to find out in the fifth trial, now the fifth one, that the state had exculpatory evidence the entire time and didn't let it. Nobody knew about it until.
But I mean, like,
the last week.
Right this very second, he's in jail.
Oh, yeah.
And it's only because COVID basically has kept him from being able to go in and do normal court business to get out of jail.
Yep.
Hopefully get bail until his next trial, which would be a humongous difference in his life. But nobody cares about people like Keith Davis Jr.
Nope.
It's only what connection you have. And, the problem is that, with Trump, he could be commuting sentences all over the place like normal people do of people that nobody knows about.
Yep.
Gary Baxter, the guy who is an investment banker for Bear Stearns that, murdered some guy in Puerto Rico and we thought he was kind of fucked and, nobody knows who he is. So when he gets commuted, like nobody has questions.
Yeah. But
when you commute Roger Stone, it's a different level of notoriety that comes with that kind of decision.
Also, you commute Roger Stone weeks after you let the state of Texas execute someone who has been found to be actually innocent. However, this is another thing I learned by the documentary. The lower court can find you to be actually innocent, but unless you get a unanimous verdict by the Court of Appeals, you're not found to be innocent. So this guy got the lower court to agree he was actually innocent, and then he had a 5-4 decision against actual innocence in the Criminal Court of Appeals. And then Trump, again, had the opportunity to step in and be like, okay, he filed a writ, let's postpone the execution.
Yeah.
And I'm going to step in because something's amiss here.
Yeah.
No. Just going to let him kill that guy. And instead he commuted Roger Stone, his buddy. So the lesson really is that what I learned a long time ago. Politics is about money. Money is about politics. And always the twain shall meet, unfortunately. So, but I guess let's move to other newsworthy news. Speaking of courts.
Yes.
The state of Sequoia is making a comeback. And I asked Corey about Sequoia earlier, and I doubt that anyone listening to us right now knows what the state of Sequoia is. But my ancestors, if you want to call them that, very, very distant and on one side of my family are formerly North Carolina Cherokee, moved Trail of Tears to southwestern Missouri, northeastern Arkansas,
right?
Cherokee. And they stopped there. A lot of people were moved a little further west, which puts them in Oklahoma. That was where most of the eastern Indians were initially put before a lot of them were murdered, and then they were moved further west to Arizona and Nevada and places like that. But seeing an end around, so the Cherokee were the only ones that had a written language as a tribe at that time, and they were more educated, and a lot of them went and learned at English schools and then went and taught the tribesmen. And they saw an end around to this whole reservation system, and seeing that they were about to get screwed over with the Oklahoma land rush, they petitioned Congress to become a state. And Congress actually considered it for a while until they said, wait a second, y'all are Indians, not citizens. You got to be freedmen in order to.
Why do you have any expectation of this land that we stole?
No, yeah, we're just gonna steal it again, for the second time in 3 generations, and move you further west. And so they denied it, and what was going to be Sequoia became the rest of Oklahoma, land rush, etc. So we bring that up because the Supreme Court, in a hard headline to read, basically ruled that.
Well, the problem is nobody's really talking about what the case is about, just what the implications are about. Everything I read was implications. Nothing was about the case.
Did you get down in the case?
Yeah.
It's dirty business.
So basically what happened here was there was a criminal case. We will get into details later, but there was a criminal case where the state of Oklahoma pressed charges against a Native American within the boundary of what is considered the reservation, which is most of Oklahoma, the eastern half of Oklahoma, basically.
So this actually is the funny thing. He was on a part of the actual reservation. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So the crime occurred on the smaller reservation portion.
Right.
His argument in court was to go beyond that, because what his lawyer, smartly or not, I guess smartly now, said was, not only did the crime occur on the reservation, but the place where you tried to charge him is part of this 1835 reservation, and the courthouse where the hearings were held were on the reservation. So none of this is legitimate. And people started saying, yeah, I guess.
My favorite part of the Supreme Court is when they look at something and they say, all right, so we have a written agreement between the federal government that this is going to be a reservation. And then we have 200 years of law where people just ignore whatever was written before it and just make up their own thing as we go. But unfortunately, there has to be a law at some point that gets us from this point to this point. So everything that happened beyond this point is now gone. And this reservation is only really able to be policed by federal authorities or reservation, like native authorities.
And again, the reservation is essentially half of Oklahoma.
Yeah,
it's
Tulsa.
The eastern
and you're
half
in Tulsa.
of Oklahoma.
You have diplomatic immunity now.
And just to be clear, though, so any people who are American citizens living in that area are free to be policed by local authorities.
Yes.
However, due to early treaties with the Native Americans, they were deemed to be non-Americans. They are citizens of the nation state of whatever tribe they are in. And we did this so we could fuck them over and take their land. And that was the thing. It's like, well, you're not American, so you have no rights
to tell us what we can do. We're American.
We are making an agreement with an enemy state. And if at some point we don't want to honor that, well, much like our agreement with the Spanish about Florida and the French about, this area, it doesn't matter. We're just going to do what we want to do. Would have been smarter for them to just be like, okay, all you tribesmen, we're bringing you in, making you American citizens. Screws you in the short term. You could find a legal way around it. It's the harder way at the time. But so if you are, let's just say, white and you're living in eastern Oklahoma, your local town still has authority on you. However, much as you say, if you are a member of a Native American tribe, you essentially have diplomatic immunity, and you flash your little badge that says, nope, I'm a member of the eastern Chickasaw tribe. And they're like, oh, all right, on your way.
Yeah.
Because unless they are a Indian Affairs Bureau, which I feel like changed their name recently. Because if not, they probably should. It's not Indian Affairs.
I think it turned Native something.
Yeah. Native American Aleutian Islander.
Office of Native, I don't know.
Anyway.
But,
But so what was formerly the Indian Affairs Bureau has police, just like everything in the federal government has a police force, and they can police the reservation. The FBI, I think, theoretically could police the reservation.
You could do federal charges against somebody on the reservation.
Or your local, by local I mean your reservation can have its own police force authorized by the federal government, and they can bring charges against you.
Right.
Which essentially take the power of the federal government down to the reservation level. So, or to your local tribe level. And it's like, you're charged in front of the, 7 elders, but they're wielding the power of the U.S. government through agreement.
Yeah.
So they can charge you if they want.
But where this case started is a case of child rape. And basically the argument being that not whether or not the crime was committed, but whether or not they had the right to bring the charges in the first place. And like you said, it seems very plausible to me that this is just one of those cases that works its way up, and judges as they get it are like, I don't like the subject matter, but I see an opportunity to fast track this thing for bigger courts. And if you're a lawyer in a case like this, if you are a judge anywhere along the line on a case like this, you eat out on cases like this. Yeah. This helps raise your profile and get you to bigger things. Sonia Sotomayor famously became a national known quantity in judicial circles when she ruled on Major League Baseball and their 94 strike. That is what propelled her from small little judge in New York to much bigger things from there.
Yeah, and I think the other portion of this is apparently these are judgeships filled by Bush and Trump.
Yeah.
And you find amongst those folks a lot of Brett Kavanaugh's, a lot of, ironically, Roberts before, recently.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys who are Alitos. Not Alito. Who am I thinking of? Scalia's. A lot of Scalia's. Very strict constructionist guys who are just like, now, wait a second. We have this treaty, and then I got a lot of meandering nonsense, but no laws and no more treaties. And as soon as you have a treaty, it's a foreign nation. So a judge's decision doesn't mean anything. We're just going to ignore that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look for a law or another treaty, and not finding any, I go strict construction, which means the treaty is still the thing that controls. And because we're the Supreme Court, we don't care what anybody else says. We're going to say what we want to say. And the lower courts, I think, did a job, good or not, of saying, I'm looking at the Supreme Court and I'm seeing what's up there and saying, I would always say that this is a strict constructionist, goes back to the treaty. But now I'm thinking I might be held up on appeal up to the next court. So I'm going to stick with that. Yes, strict construction, let's go. And it worked all the way up to Supreme Court. So
and it's just fascinating because we're at the end of the session now, right?
Yeah.
We're officially done with the session?
I think that was the last case, yeah.
Yeah. Because we also had cases before the court since we last spoke about Trump's taxes and what is allowed and not allowed. The cases in the Southern District of New York are allowed to go through, or so much so that Trump is not allowed to block the access to these documents. He might do some sort of thing. Well, it's going to take me 5 months to get all my documents together. Not much you can do about that. But you could hypothetically send down federal agents to Trump's accountant and take it by force. But something tells me that they're going to be a little bit more diplomatic about the situation at the moment, since most of the Southern District and Eastern District of New York are getting fired wholesale by Bill Barr.
You mean they're retiring after they hear on Twitter that they're about to get fired?
Retiring to a farm upstate.
Yes. Yeah.
The other side too is the side where Congress is allowed to have access to these documents, but then the way they sort of nudged it was, yes, Congress has the right to oversee has oversight powers in the federal government and over the executive branch, but not just carte blanche. You can't just say, I want all the financial records and then find something, and within you have to say, I'm looking at financial records that would lead to we are under the assumption that Trump took a large bribe. So
now we're looking for bribes.
Now we're looking for what was the bribe? Where in the financial documents is the bribe? But you have to have evidence of the bribe before you can go looking for it in.
Well, listen, there's a lot of congressmen. There's a lot of allegations. Let's break up into team of 3 and we'll grab some documents.
I really think at this point, though, the Democrats are so far away from holding Trump accountable. Impeachment didn't help them at all, mostly because everyone knew that it was just going to not work in the end.
Yeah.
And I just feel like nobody has the stomach to bring Trump up on bullshit, even though he's done nothing but, ratchet up the bullshit since
there's also a level of hubris that he's doing so poorly.
Yeah.
Come November, he's out anyway, so we're just going to let it ride, try to keep the cart on the road.
Right.
Until we get Joe.
He's the drunk guy struggling to get to his bed.
Yes.
And you're just like, Why are we going to put him out of his misery? Just
yeah, you know.
let him stumble to the end.
It's a cop who finds you stumbling down a sidewalk and just follows you back to your door to make sure you don't get in a car on the way there. And just, once he's in his door, it's fine. Let him go. But while we're on the topic, kind of on the topic there, I wanted to allow you to transition into your other Native American story of the week. Since we're talking about a lot of Native American issues recently.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Are we doing the...
Oh, I suppose, yeah, wait. So I guess it's not only just a Native American story, but it is also a sports ball story.
I don't want to rob people of a drop.
I mean, it's the only one we have, so...
Yes.
Where's that for your consideration?
State's about to get shut down. Can't do it. So, yes, we talked about it last week. We've talked about it before. But now it is official. As of today, the Redskins have announced that they are going to retire the name Redskins and the logos and all assorted things of the sort. There's no announcement of a new name or new anything at this point. At this point, I don't even know if the NFL would allow them to like print up new jerseys and have new helmets and stuff like that. They might have to just go with like a blank burgundy uniform. Like, I think one of their uniforms just has stripes. Like, it doesn't have the arrow or anything problematic on it. So perhaps they just wear striped jerseys with no helmet logo.
WFC in a white
or maybe
circle.
the old Radio Shack logo or whatever it is they had. We'll see. I think
Radio Shack, a reference that half the listenership does not understand.
Well, that's the thing. So the Redskins, over the course of their long history as the Redskins, was always trying to find the reason why nobody was offended by this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's not that I think that every single Native American heard Redskins and like, immediately shuddered and couldn't get past it. It's just that it's what bothers me about Redskins in particular was it just felt like it was co-opting everything that was about being a Native American and using it as a theme towards an experience, like much like the Braves with the tomahawk chop and everything like that and and everything. They have built so much of the experience of going to the Braves game about doing the chop in front of everybody, like 30,000 people and stuff like that, and doing fake Indian chants and everything like that. And I was trying to make the example with Roberto. He was one of the people who doesn't get why they have to change their name. And I'm just like, if there was a team that had a Latino slur in it. Yeah. And it's not the worst in the world, but it's,
the San Antonio, exactly the word that you thought I was about to say. Yes.
the one I used in a private conversation with Roberto, but not on the podcast. Yes.
Yeah. And
no, but I'm saying
if their mascot was the road sign of the three. The family running across the highway.
Or I was saying, you wouldn't be as upset maybe about like whatever they used as the name of the team, even if it was just like the Los Angeles Mexicans, right? Yeah. Like you wouldn't be offended necessarily by the name Mexicans, but what really bothered a lot of people was the co-opting of everything that was seen as co-optable by a largely white audience. And that has always been if you have a Los Angeles Mexicans team and then you have people doing the Mexican hat dance in the parking lot while drinking Budweisers. Yeah. Like it doesn't say, or if like every
that
time
only
you get
flies on May 5th. All right. It's the only day we're allowed to do that.
It's I guess I'm glad that we finally gotten to this point. I'm a little bit upset that it took literally corporate interest money to get it to, I wonder if it wasn't a coronavirus year and Snyder wasn't thinking about the fact that he's not going to be able to get any gates from fans coming in. And he's just like, I can't also lose $200 million from advertisers. Like maybe I could lose some advertisers if I was going to have full houses every week, but I can't compete with both of them.
Yeah, and if I could call on the fan base to be like, if you really want to keep the name, we need to pack this house every single week.
We have a Kickstarter going.
Yeah. And I want to say, I think we've lost him during the episode here, but Tony Steele, who's been a guest of the podcast before, just putting Redskins in the title of the episode brought Tony Steele out for the episode, and he claims to have a pressure valve. I hope he comes back to let us know what his pressure valve is. But just like Tony, if you're watching on Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, you can put a comment wherever you're listening to us, and it'll pop up right here, and we can discuss. So if you have a pressure valve, a fix for this situation, let us know. Let me tell you what I don't think is going to fix it. Holding 35% of players' salaries. I don't think that's going to be a fix for anything that they're trying to do right now.
I just don't get, like... I get why you as an organization are trying to recoup some costs if your business is not operating at peak potential.
Yeah.
But literally nowhere else in the world does this happen like this. If I have a restaurant and I'm always busy on Saturdays, I don't take reservations, but just people always come in on Saturdays. So I have extra people come in, extra staff ready to work. If nobody shows up that day, there's a parade and they didn't know about it.
Yeah.
It's still paying all these people. I'm not like, well, we had less customers, I'm giving you less money. They might get less money in like tips or something like that.
Well, I mean, see, you're avoiding the fact that you're going to pay them $2.35 an hour, and they'll just make nothing in tips.
Right. Well, I mean, at the restaurant I worked at, we paid a reasonable,
true, yes,
a reasonable minimum, a usual minimum wage, not a unreasonable server minimum wage. It was, I don't know. I think that there are clear delineations between teams that I feel like are doing this with the right intention in their heart, if you will, and the ones who aren't. So we talked about the Seminoles. The Florida State came to an agreement with the Seminole tribe.
Yep.
And the Blackhawks. I didn't know the whole story before, but boy, am I glad I know now.
Yeah.
That the Blackhawks that they're referring to is an actual Native
tribe.
American just a single guy by the name of Black Hawk.
Oh. All right.
Who was a great Indian hero in the Illinois area. And it was...
There you go.
I don't know. It'd be like if Baltimore had a John Waters or something like that. They were honoring a person, and they called the team the Blackhawks. They put his likeness on the logo.
So the logo's a specific person.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
not
a specific person.
Generalized.
Apparently,
yeah.
yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
So... to me that seems more reasonable because you're honoring somebody. You're it's not and there's nothing particularly, like the Indians using Chief Wahoo as the logo. That one is like, if it was Chief Much Respect or something like that, then I think it would be easier to say we are respecting the culture. But when you call it a Wahoo,
also if Chief Wahoo didn't look like Andy Rooney doing yellow face, doing red face, I mean, then it probably would be a little better too. So,
but I mean, like just the language that goes with how these teams have been categorized to is the other side of it. And I feel like everyone has their own line. Specifically with the Redskins, there have been many polls that have been put out over the years where the percentage of Native Americans has been low as far as the how offended are you scale on this thing. But I really do feel like it hurts nobody except for Dan Snyder, who deserves it. So I don't see why we're not.
I will say
doing that.
A lot of I read a little bit up on this week. A lot of the polls. Guess who did the polls?
Well, the Redskins.
The Redskins did the polls.
Yeah.
And they...
well, they also said, like, well, Native American drew the logo. So... If he didn't think it was offensive, then...
So it's really... Go back...
But the first time that there was an honest attempt by anybody to try and get the name changed was a Native American group in 1972.
Yeah.
And then throughout the years, there were different... There was they were trying to get the trademark turned over in 91, and it got really close to going through.
Yeah.
And then at the last minute, it was saved by some upper court. At more recent years, the trademark had been removed. So there was success in that regard. But, this is not a new issue.
No. And the going through the history is very, very interesting about how the Jack Kent Cooke was the one who changed the logo, and he did it essentially as a pressure valve. He was just like, we're going to get an actual Native American person to draw us a thing, pay him immensely for it. And then that way it's, not just the word with an R in a circle. It's I suppose like a Blackhawks idea. We're going to honor them through having this image. And then Snyder, apparently right after he bought the team, did polling, and they called 768 Native Americans, asked them one question in the poll.
Yeah.
And then he's been standing on that poll for like 10 years. And it's like, wait. So you called up a guy and you're like, hey, you're Native American, right? Were there Redskins? Is that a slur to you? No? Okay, cool, thanks. And you hung up. Like, that's all you did. Yeah. You didn't set up anything to try and get more information. And then you just use that as strong as you can.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah. I never saw heard the name Redskins and like shuddered. Like, liberal sensibility never overtook me with it.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, I also recognized that doesn't seem like it fits the same way that other ones do, like Rams. There's never going to be a point where we go like, well, we got to get all these Rams off of our sports teams.
I don't know. When the vegetarians take over, man, it's going to be a problem.
One more thing. Did you see the Barstool tweet that I retweeted there?
Which
there is a truly remarkable image on Twitter right now, and I have to share this with Rob real quick.
Okay.
It was the most popular team in every state.
Okay.
And I just want to give you a couple and just see if you can quickly name to me the most popular team in these states. Okay.
Cross sports or on
any pro or college team.
Ooh.
And I will tell you that there are a couple. So, for instance, I'm not going to ask you this one, but the most popular sports team in Montana is the Yankees.
Yes.
So it's not like there's a Montana team to really root for, but apparently the Yankees are really, really popular there.
Okay.
But I'm going to give you a couple that are the teams of the state in which they play. Easy one up front. Maryland.
See, I want to say Ravens.
It is the Ravens.
Okay. But then the problem is like Terrapins. Like if you throw college teams in, I know way more people who like claim to be Terrapins fans than claim to be Ravens fans. But
how about DC?
The District of Columbia?
Mm-hmm.
Nationals?
No, it's the Capitals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
The Nationals did get Virginia, though.
I thought you said major sports. My fault. Okay, now I'm in the right mindset.
All right, now I'm going to throw you some curveballs,
okay.
All right? You ready for this?
Yes.
Texas.
It's not the Longhorns?
No, it is the Houston Astros.
Okay.
Wait. I was like a little bit surprised by that one.
Are we sure that's an accurate polling?
Were there bangs when people were answering questions?
Yeah.
This one I hope you never get.
Okay.
Most popular sports team in Florida.
See, I immediately go away from it can't be professional sports. So I start thinking Gators.
Could it be a professional
There's
sport?
no way. Wait, okay, so
but could it be?
No. It's got to be the Gators.
The Miami Marlins.
Are you
according to this is the most popular sports team in Florida.
Did they poll 12 people in Florida? Like there's no way.
Did they poll just the Marlins?
Again, so the Florida Gators game becomes the fourth largest city in Florida when they have a game on Saturday.
Yeah, in Gainesville, it becomes the fourth largest city in the state.
Anyway, yeah.
just two more real quick.
Okay.
Arizona and O2 Roberto here. Like what
see now I would go to the Cardinals over any of the college sports, but I'm probably wrong about that.
You are in fact wrong about that.
Yeah.
The Arizona Coyotes apparently are the most popular team in Arizona. A team that I almost certainly did. You probably didn't even know they were the Arizona Coyotes now, right? You thought they were Phoenix maybe still?
Oh,
even
right.
If you knew they were the Phoenix Coyotes?
I knew that they were the Coyotes. I didn't know that they were ever the Phoenix Coyotes. I just assumed they were the Arizona Coyotes.
No. All right. Now this
By the way, that is an NHL team for those of you who may not know who the Coyotes are.
This one will flabbergast you.
Okay.
California. Now keep in mind, big state. We got San Francisco.
Yep.
We got LA. We got a lot of ground to cover here.
Now, immediately based on your results, I want to say Clippers because I just feel like Clippers is the response that I would not expect.
Believe it or not, there is a answer that is more unexpected.
Oakland Raiders.
No.
Okay.
The Los Angeles Chargers.
You are out of your mind.
Apparently is the most popular sports team.
You are out of your mind.
Somebody please look at this fucking thing. It is unbelievable to me. I was flabbergasted when I saw
I
that.
question everything about that survey. There is no way.
I have not met two people who are Chargers fans.
There are more Yankees fans in California than there are Chargers fans.
The tweet in particular I saw, no way y'all just said the Chargers are the most popular team in Cali with a straight face.
Yes. That alone. See, I thought you were going to pull up like Alabama.
No.
Alabama gets weird because there are a lot of baseball fans, so you kind of want to say Braves.
I'm almost sure.
It's Auburn?
It's Bama.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay, yeah. I was going to say Roll Tide or Auburn.
Yeah. But then there's other ones like Missouri where the Blues are the most popular team. But you also have the Cardinals, which is like one of the most loyal fan bases.
Right, but
then in New York, it's not the Yankees, it's not the Mets, it's not the Giants, it's not the Jets, it's the Bills, according to this thing.
So now, and I'll tell you why those make sense. Why Missouri and New York make sense, because there are multiple teams. There's Royals, Cardinals, there's Chiefs, and not Rams
how the
anymore.
Chiefs aren't more popular than the Blues, though?
Well, because there are a lot of hockey fans in Missouri. And they only have the Blues to cheer for.
Yeah, I guess so.
And the Bills have the entirety of upstate New York.
Yeah.
While New York City is split on football, it's split on hockey, it's split on baseball, everything.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about raw numbers, literally all they have upstate is
the Bills.
The Bills. And when you get dummies to jump off vans and into tables, I immediately think that's going to be the most popular team. So
true. I don't see Yankee fans in the Legends Suite jumping on flaming tables.
No, absolutely not. So we had a couple other things, but you know what? Let's just let's close up sports ball for now. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay. And as a treat for everybody, I'm going to go immediately into the 4-year consideration drop. Just right there. Oh, wait, no. But I did want to talk quickly because it seems to be in the ethos. Well, not the ethos. The ether right now. And here's the problem. You say no. You say you haven't heard anything about it, but maybe it's just my work that I've heard so much about Kwibi and Peacock and HBO Max in the past week. Did you check and see if you have HBO Max?
No.
Okay.
I have HBO Go, which is going away.
Yes.
Because they want you to switch over to HBO Max.
And I had Now.
Yeah.
And they basically were like, thanks for paying for Now for all this time. We're going to give you Go. And I have Go. I mean, Max. Now I have Max.
I mean, it's the same price, so there's no reason you wouldn't just have Max.
Yes.
My problem with Max when it came out was that I have only a certain type. I have a Fire Stick in the living room, and I have a Roku in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And neither one of those has HBO Max on it yet.
Okay.
So I don't really have a means to watch it.
Did it have HBO Now?
It did.
Okay, so the HBO Now on my Roku updated to HBO Max.
Oh, well, there you go. Maybe they're trying to backdoor this one.
Literally, nothing changed.
Yeah.
Only the icon changed to Max. Now, I don't know if I have all the content and if they're just like, we're going to brand this until we figure this mother out. But yeah.
Well, the problem was that HBO or Time Warner announced that they were going to launch this service, and they're just like, it's going to be amazing, just like Disney Plus and Netflix. And then it came time to negotiate the contracts to get them on the platforms, and they're just like, seems like you're raking us over the coals, Roku. And they're just like, yeah,
yep.
You're a multi-billion-dollar company that announced you're launching a new service, and it's going to need our platform to get through. So yes, we are raking you across the coals.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have thought about working out the deal before you announced it.
Especially when you give us a date that you're going live, and we're just we can postpone as long as you want. Yeah.
Listen, we don't need to have the app. I don't care.
So HBO Max aside, I've been hearing a lot about Peacock, and I don't know if again that's just the world that I live in or not.
Well, Peacock is interesting to me because they have free ad-supported versions of what you're watching.
Yeah.
So there is a way to watch Peacock without ads, and you pay a certain amount a month. But then there's also like Peacock free, essentially.
Yeah.
And having a free option in this world of HBO Max is costing like $15 or something like that, $13. And Disney's 10 and Netflix is 12, and like you're adding all these things up, and eventually you're getting to the same thing as a cable bill. Yeah.
Plus, I pay for internet.
It's nice to know that you have that NBC is giving you basically a lot of the catalog for free, more or less, and you have to watch ads, and not even as many ads as you would watch if you were watching NBC on TV.
Right. Yeah.
Now the question is the NBC library and the things that they have access to the type of thing that's going to make you constantly go check?
There are 2 shows on there.
Yeah.
Do you know what those 2 shows are?
Well, they're going to have The Office soon.
Going to have The Office.
Yeah.
And then after that?
They have like The West Wing too, don't they? Or is that HBO?
Only you and I care about that. But yeah, that's HBO Max, I think.
Yeah.
Friends is going over to Peacock.
Oh,
after their current contract. So it won't be till next year. It's like 2021.
It was on Max.
No. It may be now, but once whatever their current contract runs out, it comes back. According to a podcast that I was listening to about
I think that is incorrect information, because I think the Friends deal for HBO Max was like, a decade long and $300 million or some insane amount of money.
The guest on the podcast I was listening to was basically like, no matter how much stuff you have, inevitably it gets down to like, oh, I need something new, and then you hit Friends 1-1 or Office 1-1, and that both of those series were going to be on Peacock.
Yeah,
not immediately. Actually, The Office will be on immediately because
the problem with if you have a lesser show, not to pick on it because I loved it, but like Studio 60, right? That's an easy Peacock one because nobody has been banging down the door to get the streaming rights for the one season of Studio 60.
Oh, maybe.
But I'm saying like
maybe we'll have like
there hasn't been a big bidding war for it.
Maybe we'll have a Breaking Bad where so many people love it. They're like, Sorkin, we got to come back.
Wait a minute.
It's been 20 years.
Matthew Perry, and Bradley Whitford? How'd end this work?
Sarah Paulson? It's like a star-studded extravaganza. We need to get all these guys back together.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's going to have a lot of shows that are going to be that, like, if you don't really care what you watch and you just want to have something on, it'll have those shows.
If NBC has the rights to something and nobody is interested in trying to get the rights to it, to put it on Netflix or Hulu or anything like that, then they're going to find the way to get all these shows back and work it. But, I mean, a Friends-like show, you're going to have to pay for Friends. Like, that's just part of the...
and I get
there's no discount. There's no NBC discount for Friends. When
you would say the same thing about The Office, though, right? It's the most watched thing on Netflix.
They paid for it, though.
It's gonna be on Peacock,
right? But they're paying for it.
Oh, are they paying for it to be on Peacock? Oh,
yes, a lot. A significant amount of money.
But it's NBC Studios.
Yeah, but this goes back to
they have to compete, right?
Yeah,
so they have to bid.
This goes back to US v Paramount,
That's right.
which in terms of distribution of properties that are individual corporations for the argument of selling them and the rights distribution and stuff like that, you can't, as a fiduciary, take a lesser deal just because you have a pre-existing relationship with, because everyone who has interest in the show is going to
not get paid as much. Yeah.
I mean, you could say we're going to get a better spot on NBC and we're getting paid, or Peacock, and we're getting paid $10 million less than we would in the HBO deal. Yep. Like, there's reasons why we would take one deal over the other. It's not all about money, but at the end of the day, if you were not looking out for your client, the people who have equity in the show, then
I'm gonna put a big asterisk up there, because also it's possible US v Paramount is overturned in the next few years.
That's more of a going forward problem, though.
That's also true, because the US v Paramount only applied to because it broke up the system, the studio system, so they could make it retroactive.
Right, but so what had been happening before was there would be I come up with a show, right? I come up with Friends, and I go to different networks, but I have a relationship with some studio or some entity that will produce the show and create the show and release the show, but not necessarily distribute the show.
Right.
So I might work at Warner Brothers to create Friends, right? And I might film it at Warner Brothers Studios, and their team is in charge of production on the show, but then they sell it to NBC.
And more clearly,
air on NBC.
More clearly, it could be ABC Studios produces it. Everything is done there, and then
Right.
they sell it to NBC, which is why some shows you get that weird, like, it's on NBC, but ABC Studios splash at the beginning, at the end.
Right. And more recently, there have been more studios going, why the fuck are we making properties and then selling them to other networks? Why don't we just worry about making as many good properties and keeping them under the same roof?
If it doesn't go very well, we'll put it on
became
streaming.
easier with everyone becoming intertwined with, various corporate.
Disney owning everything, basically? Yeah.
Well, same thing with AT&T,
AT&T.
Time Warner, and NBC Universal, and the list is long and plenty of the properties, but I think it'll be a little while because it really, like, every show is literally its own company.
Yeah.
Like, it's like its own, and they have to look out for what's best for their individual company, which is just the show and how much money they can get for the rights to it. So
another topic I wanted to get into while we're there is my perennial push to Corey, which is Kwibi, and how good Kwibi is. Two things happened this week, and I wanted to gauge your reaction to.
Okay.
Number one, they're giving up and they're putting it on Roku and Apple TV. So that makes life easier. They had previously given up and allowed you to Chromecast or what's the Applecast? Whatever
AirPlay,
it is. AirPlay from your phone to a TV. But now they're just going to make an app and put it on there.
Yeah.
Also, apparently, they are introducing a free tier that will run ads just like TV.
I think that is what they need at this moment because my problem is that, number one, I don't want to watch content on my phone. Under any, like, if I'm stuck somewhere, like if I'm waiting for the oil change, kind of that example, then I'll watch 10 minutes of whatever on my phone while I'm waiting.
That's what they said it was for.
Oh, I know, but I'm never doing that. I'm never like sitting at my computer with the screens and the TV across the room, the 4K display across the room, and going like, oh, I really want to watch something on this small little display for a little while.
See, again,
like,
and COVID has thrown us off, but
Yeah.
me being at the office, that is exactly what I do. I have my laptop with my screen, and then I can't have like a show playing on the screens, but I can turn my phone, landscape, and put in my headphones and watch my Kwibi show on my phone.
Yeah, and
it makes it life easy.
I think the problem really with Kwibi is that they just didn't think hard enough about who they are trying to advertise to.
Yeah.
The idea, the thought is that we're upending the system and it's going to be something new and exciting, and the kids are going to be all about it.
And they were not.
And they were not, because there weren't shows that were really designed for kids. I mean, like, everything is so disposable with the younger generations, and I sound like such an old man right now, but I mean, like, there's like talk to any 13-year-old, and they'll have 5 YouTubers or 5 TikTokers that they're really like obsessed with at the moment.
Yeah.
And then come Christmas time, they don't even know where they live or what they're doing. They don't care anymore. Like, it's like, I'm really into Jake Paul, and then I don't even know who fuck Jake Paul is. And
Quibi's problem is I have a bunch of shows that I really like from Kwibi.
Yeah.
And they do not care about that.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is that you made content for me. And maybe to you, 70-year-old executives, I'm the youth.
Yeah.
But I'm not the youth that you need to get. You need to get the youth, the people I call young people. So,
and I almost feel like, as far as the length of content, I mean, not that you couldn't do 10-minute episodes of things and that it wouldn't be enjoyable, but I almost think that, sort of the YouTube web series model is the way that works the best for that sort of thing, or like a internet-based TV show that has that. And the problem is Kwibi wants to be so much more about like this mobile experience and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily feel like you need to, I'm not watching it either, so I don't know. But then nobody other than you has even mentioned Kwibi to me.
And
you're
again,
like the one Charger fan I know, and I'm just like.
But in my world, we have discussions about it all the time, and that's just what it like. For me, it's like, I'm the one who talks about it the
maybe
least.
It'd be different if I was on set and people were like saying like, "Oh my god, have you seen Kwibi?" Like that'd be where I'd be hearing it more.
But like,
probably, but like
getting ready in the morning, get an episode in while I'm brushing my teeth and getting ready. I just have it sitting up on the shelf. I'm watching an episode of something, and then right before I leave, I can also, while I'm drinking my shake in the morning, I have another episode. While I'm commuting, if I did commute by car, you could have an episode playing. Like, that's the thing. That's what it's meant for, and we just don't have that world right now. I do, but most people don't. So anyway, I'm excited about it, and we'll see. But one of the reasons I brought it up, though, by the way,
all these media ventures, people seem to forget. Like a lot of these media ventures, their first couple months in the game are very rough. At Netflix, when they first started doing streaming, was not great.
Why would I want to wait for this to load when I could get a DVD sent to my house?
Yeah,
and I get one day.
Yeah, and the things they have on streaming aren't anywhere close to what I'm getting on the DVD. Like this old movie from the 70s. What am I doing?
By the way,
what am I? My father?
Kids at home. Netflix used to send DVDs to your house. That was how it worked. You get 3 or 4 or 5.
And everyone seems to forget about the whole Quickster nonsense.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Where it's like, oh, Netflix is going to be where you stream, and Quickster is going to be where you get your DVDs. Now I don't know anybody who gets the DVDs anymore.
So there are things that by contract, when Netflix first got them, they got in these extremely long contracts.
Yeah.
Only for DVD. So maybe eventually they'll be on streaming, but there is some stuff that if you search for it, it just says available by disc only.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody who has a disc membership anymore. Like I hung on to that for a long time, only to get Gone with the Wind. Then Gone with the Wind left Netflix because they were going to HBO, and so I dropped it.
Yeah.
Because once a year I watch Gone with the Wind. That's my Thanksgiving tradition. But nonetheless, the funny thing about this, though, by the way, is they finally decided to go to a model that includes ads, and it coincides with that. So even on the paid model, there were still ads. It was subsidizing the low cost of that with the high cost of production, and now the advertisers are starting to leave. So now it's like, okay, now we're going to run ads to give you a free tier, but they may not have enough advertisers to fill the ad spots that they need. Yeah. So it may be like bailing water out of a ship with a hole in it.
Well, the other problem is that Kwibi is making these deals with people who are like getting their full rate when they don't necessarily deserve their full rate.
Yeah.
And this isn't picking on anybody, but like, you know, I think I heard Christoph Waltz got $1 million for his Kwibi show. And
Most Dangerous Game?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And he was pitching that around to other places, and there was some level of interest, but not at $1 million for Christoph Waltz.
Yep.
But when Kwibi is willing to pay you $1 million, well, got to go to the person who's willing to pay you like that.
And, I think it was on Simmons, right, where he was saying like it's the home of the 7th best idea for all your creators. Like when no one else will take this idea, Kwibi will take it and do it. But it's also, I think.
I mean, what Kwibi needs is they need somebody who's hungry to create something for that venue. Like, if you get some creative, and it probably won't be a name creative, it'll be somebody who's scrappy and up and coming and stuff like that, who will say, you know, like, oh, I have this great idea and it works perfectly within the Kwibi model. Like, you know, until House of Cards came out, nobody gave a shit about Netflix as
original stuff. Yeah.
Like
I go there to watch old stuff.
There were a couple Netflix things before House of Cards, right? It was like there was like one show that wasn't popular and one movie that wasn't popular, and it felt very like TNT original movie. Not to pick on TNT original movies.
I don't remember what they were, but I do remember like the first year it was just like swing and a miss on Netflix. And by the way, people love to jump on that shit too. Like, you hear a lot about how terrible Kwibi is because people are on the bandwagon of like how terrible Kwibi is.
Well, the two things Hollywood loves the most is tearing somebody down and building them back up. So right now we're in the tearing down Kwibi stage of it because they haven't captured the minds of America right off the bat. Almost none of these services do. Maybe with the exception of Disney Plus, which had a pretty good, smooth rollout. But I mean, like,
they had the Star Wars property to just do a new Star Wars show.
And they had all the Disney properties too. I mean, like, the problem with the benefit they had was they had parents by the nuts on that one. It's like
can't watch it anywhere else now.
Yeah, your kid want to watch Snow White? It's only in one place.
Yep,
so,
got the DVD.
Yeah.
Ooh, got bad news for you. Gonna have to pony up for that.
Yeah.
But I think you're right that they should stop looking at the known quantities and look at, say, Christoph Waltz wants $1 million for Most Dangerous Game.
Right.
You or I go in there with the Most Dangerous Game as an idea. And like, we got this great reboot. And they're like, so here's what we're going to do. How about $50K in your pocket?
Yeah.
Production costs, I don't know. We need the entire.
Ron's like, I'll take it.
We need the entire 180-minute run for $2 million. in the like out the door, $2 million bucks. I take that. $50K in my pocket to go write and work on something.
Yeah.
And if it's good, then people see it and they. Now I like The Most Dangerous Game. I just don't think it was that. It wasn't the name maker. Although Kwibi, by the way, got a couple ideas. So if you're looking, just saying, shouting out. I'm the one who's been the supporter right here. Peacock, Quibi, HBO Max. I'm the supporter. So yeah. Anyway, as I mentioned, this time is difficult for places like this because, of course, coronavirus has everyone at home. And again, as you pointed out, why am I going to watch on my phone when I have a 4K display sitting to the left and I can't watch your show on it?
Right.
But that may not be important, Corey. And not that I'm wishing ill on you, but if these infection and death rates continue to climb, I don't know if it's going to be a problem.
I just don't even know what to say anymore. Like I'm really like I'm flabbergasted by the logic of some people, you know? And like I've been trying to be as good as I can be.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be considerate of others. I don't feel like everyone else is being as considerate of others as I am.
No, absolutely.
And I'm not trying to sound like I'm so humble kind of thing, but like, you know what I mean? Like it just feels like there's been a general fuck this about the whole thing from like, you know, it's like if the flood is happening, right? Like when it first starts raining and flooding and there's a couple inches of water on the ground, you're just like, oh my God, I hope my house doesn't get flooded. And then your house gets flooded and it's still raining and it's been months. And you're just like, fuck it. Hurricane's not real. I don't care anymore. Like
you're out doing the backstroke in a horse mask out in front of your house.
And the people who are still like, you know, like building their arcs and saving themselves and going to higher ground and stuff are just like, the hurricane's still going.
Nope.
Fuck it. Yeah.
Going to get the mail, Corey. I'll be back.
And 24 hours, Florida had 15,000 cases. It was like 15,336 cases or something like that. And at this point, I'm wondering just what the capacity is really, honestly, to test a lot of people. Like, I feel like California is doing a good job of testing a lot of people. Yep. Anyone who wants to test can get a test, blah, blah, blah.
Lines are long, but you can get you a test.
And, you know, I think that there's a lot of cases probably because we're testing a lot of people. I bet you there's so many cases in Florida right now that are not, just unknown to people right now. And one of the most interesting ones I saw, this is early in coronavirus. This is before Florida even got hit really that hard. When people were still like, oh, the enigma that is Florida. It doesn't seem to hit here.
Whoops.
Florida has a population 1/3 the size of South Korea.
Yeah.
Right? And at the time, I think it was the mid-April or end of April, South Korea, which has a population 3 times the size of Florida, had 1/3 the number of cases. So a bigger place, way less cases.
Yep.
Now Florida has had 15,000 cases in one day, and South Korea hasn't even hit 14,000 cases total yet.
Yep.
Now there are differences between South Korea and America. Number one, it's not as big, so there's less. There's more people at play to have to contact trace under a South Korea type system.
We also, though, we call it a democracy, but they have a history of like more authoritarian style democracy. So they're like, stay inside, and everybody's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more masks are more culturally acceptable there, so that helps as well. But to me, it's amazing that the KBO is playing with fans in stand right now. They've been playing this whole time. In America, we're hoping and praying that somehow a baseball season is able to happen, and basketball and hockey and football beyond that. Like we're just crossing fingers and hoping and praying, but.
Well, LA County is a county with 10 million inhabitants, and I think they called it back of the envelope math, but there are likely 74 ICU beds right now in the entire county.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
And that's not taking into account that I think the conference convention center has already been retrofitted as a hospital so that, like, if need be, it becomes spillover hospital space. But that's not an ICU.
Yeah.
An ICU is at a hospital with a lot of, like, medical personnel around and equipment, not like, hey, we're going to put you here to die.
Yeah.
So it's scary. And people not following directions. I don't, even on my ride home today, I saw people sitting outside of a restaurant. And as I stopped at the light and I could see people sitting outside of the restaurant, I heard someone toasting to, like, gotta take advantage.
Yeah.
Because the governor shut down the state. And the way that this works is he announced today, shutting everything down. So it goes into effect at midnight. So a bunch of people rushed out to bars and restaurants today.
Yeah.
To make sure they could take advantage. And I hate all of you. Just with the fire of 1,000 suns. And, you know, we've been saying all along, if we could just tell everyone, go buy 2 weeks worth of groceries, go inside, and do not leave. Stay in your house for 2 weeks. We'd be done.
Yeah.
It would burn itself out. Households would be infected, yes. But you'd all get infected. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And then it burns out inside your house and it doesn't go anywhere else. But even when they were saying stay at home, emergency workers only, the freeway has traffic on it at all hours.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like when it was quarantine time and everything was closed, the only place you could go was supermarkets and gas stations.
Yep.
You go out on the balcony and you're looking around and it's 4 a.m. and there's still a steady stream of cars coming by. And you're just like,
where are you going?
These can't all be like frontline workers, you know? Like, there's not enough. There's too many people going by to just all be doctors and nurses, you know? Like, or, you know, firemen coming off their shift or policemen or whatever. Like,
by the way, if you want to be disturbed, go look at the list of critical essential workers
I'm
on
sure.
California's. Like, that'll tell you why. Funny. Casino dealers. Essential workers once they reopen. But I know you guys are tired of hearing us talk about it, but we actually have someone else who has offered an opinion to tell you to, well, I don't know. I guess we'll see what she has to say. But it's friend of the show, Flash, coming from the East Coast, where we don't know what the situation is, but I guess she does. So let's hear what Flash has to say, shall we?
Mm-hmm. Hi guys, it's Flash, one of your favorite listeners. I'm calling because I just got off the phone. I was leaving my lovely governor of Massachusetts a message because I am currently sick. Hopefully not with COVID, hopefully with just strep throat, but I am one of those people who has spent now the last 118 days working from home and literally only leaving to go grocery shopping. And it didn't matter. And it didn't matter because everything else is open, and so all these germs are everywhere. So it is frustrating that I've had a fever of over 100 for now the last 3 days, and it's really not my fault. And somebody compared it to when you're the person in the group who's used to doing all the work, and you still get a failing grade because nobody else did any work or showed up. So that's what it feels like for me right now. And, just a different perspective of somebody who is not doing so well, but is super careful. And, hope you guys are well, and I hope you guys are all safe. I know you guys are in a hot zone, and so just be safe and be well. All right, bye.
Well, thank you, Flash, for leaving a message. Of course, everyone can call and leave us messages. Let us know that they are doing well or otherwise. Number is 443-219-7595.
What's the number again?
443-219-7595. And let us know in the message if we can play it on the show. And I will say, I know the first thing people are going to say is like, listen, she likes needlepoint. She stays inside all the time. She's got to be an old lady. No, she's not. She's younger than us. And one of the most frustrating things is like, oh, well, it's just old people. I'm like, no, it's absolutely not.
Well, to me, the worst fear is like, I feel like if I got COVID, I would manage to be able, like, it might really suck for a while and I might get over it. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm in a high risk per se that would
high risk group. You're not.
Yeah, like that would danger me to the point where I'd have to risk it in a hospital or something like that, or hope that I get an ICU bed or something like that. But we don't know what the long-term impacts of this are. There are people who, say they got it in March and still can't taste or smell right.
Yep.
And there's people who say that the sore throat and the fever and everything went away, but the cough has sort of remained as like this rolling, nagging cough that I can't get rid of.
People are having strokes. They're having heart conditions related to it.
Well, and the other thing, and I have to imagine that there are a lot of people who are fucking dealing with this, which is like just the run-of-the-mill garden hypochondriacs who, like, I don't necessarily get worried about every little thing, but sometimes, my ankle hurts a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, every time I take a step, it really hurts. I hope I didn't do something. Oh shit, I probably did something. And now I'm thinking about every step, like, oh my God, am I tearing my ACL? What am I doing here? Like it enters your brain as like, I'm worried about this now. And if you forgot about it for an hour, it would go away. But because now your attention's on it, you can't avoid it.
Yeah.
And I think it's got to be tough for some people out there who are like, I have a slight headache. Do I have coronavirus? Mm-hmm. I am feeling flush. Do I have coronavirus?
And then, but the people on the other side who are like at parties, hacking up a lung and just like, no worries, I'm good.
Or joking like, I probably have corona. Ha 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 ha.
Yep, you do. You just gave it to 400 people.
Yeah. Well, there's also parties that are going on where people are trying to get coronavirus, or like who's the first one who can get it and stuff like that. It just doesn't like. I don't know. The one that really bothers me, I have to do this. I'm not trying to pick on religious people here, but goddamn.
Yeah.
I've been hearing more and more, mostly people complaining at like city council meetings about like not wearing masks and stuff like that. But there's been way more of this argument going on where God provides and God gave us these lungs with which to breathe, and he will protect me from COVID because I don't need a mask to protect me. I just need the
prayer.
Yeah, I just need God's love and I'll be good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But this doesn't, that logic doesn't work anywhere else. Like if it's a sunny day and you need to keep the sun out of your eyes, it's not against God's will to put on a hat,
right? Yeah.
Or wear sunglasses. Mm-hmm. It's not, if it's 12 degrees outside, it's not against God's will to put on a jacket and some pants. Like it's just you protecting yourself.
I am going to start making that argument though. I'm like, listen, if God can keep COVID out of your lungs, he can keep your legs warm.
Realistically, if God is protecting you in every single way, you should be walking around naked all the time. Like,
yeah, why not?
What are you wearing the clothes for? What are you? Maybe you're making some argument about shame and God and blah blah blah.
That's the body God gave you.
Yeah, but he wouldn't give you that body unless he wanted you to show it off to people. Yeah. So
also, I'll refer all of you to the Old Testament, where God does a lot of smiting. And
I always like how in Old Testament God is, I'm gonna give you a warning about this, and if nobody listens, I'm just gonna murder a lot of people.
Yep.
I'm just gonna kill everyone.
Yep.
Oh, all you people who didn't plant your crops like I told you to, death. Firstborn's gone.
Hey, all of you who
I sent a guy. He said, "Free the Israelites," and you said, "Nah, rather not."
Smite.
So, locusts, blood.
Hey, all of you who I sent you my son. He was a brown-skinned communist,
Arab,
and
Arab Jew.
You didn't really listen to him, so I'm just gonna smite a bunch of you. Yeah, so maybe we just study up a little bit.
It's incredible, and the fact that California just is teetering on the edge of everything shutting down all over again, and us all being stuck here for a while. And to me, it's not like about, because I saw an article too this week, an opinion piece in Bloomberg, where they were talking about when the national news is talking about coronavirus cases, they're talking Florida, they're talking Texas, they're talking Arizona, but they never mention California, who has just as many cases as those other states. And they're trying to say, like the argument the guy was trying to make, I think, was, Arizona, Texas, and Florida are red states. So, they're doing it wrong, but we're not going to pick on California because it's our biggest blue state.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think it has to do with, like, how, like, the political leanings of the people who live there. I really do think it has to do with selfishness. And as somebody who lives in California, there are a lot of Democrats and liberals who are incredibly selfish.
Yeah.
And
LA's full of them.
Yeah. And, if you think like, oh, I'm just running into the store for a second, so I'll just have my mask pulled down. Like, it doesn't do you any benefit if it's not protecting you or protecting other people from you.
Well,
but
Tony's still with us, and he commented in the chat, it's the way that some people accept fate. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
They give it to God because they feel like they can't intervene. It's fate in some ways. But this is kind of an argument I make on other things as well. Like, no, suicide aside, we talked a few weeks ago, or maybe it was on one of the other things I record, but I talked about assisted suicide. And like, you have a terminal illness, and instead of like just letting it play out, you have the choice to end your own life.
Yeah.
I will always support that. What I won't support is you jumping off a building and then smashing 3 people when you hit the sidewalk, because now your choice to accept fate has impacted the lives of other people. That is the example we have with COVID, where yes, maybe you've accepted fate and you're not going to wear a mask, but you get infected and then you infect a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
And that's not their choice. And maybe it's somebody who has just a weakened immune system because, by your argument, I guess God gave them a weakened immune system. Is that God culling the masses? Or is that you not wearing a damn mask and them doing everything they can and you negatively impacting their life?
I mean, like, in society as a whole, we have laws and regulations that are meant to be just to keep people from just doing whatever the fuck they want, basically. Like, you're not allowed to drain motor oil into the river. Is it the easiest way to get rid of your oil? Sure. Why not? It's right behind your house. But at the same time, by doing that, you could kill a lot of people or make a lot of people sick or ruin the environment.
I only fish upstream from my house. It doesn't impact me at all.
Except for the other guy who decides to do it because you do it all the time. So the guy upstream from you does it too, and then fucks the fish that you eat and serve to your family, and they die.
Oh, well, I see. Now it involves me, and now I'm upset about it.
Exactly.
We have to stop that guy from doing it.
Yes. That's all I got there. Yeah.
Fiend. There's the end. Yeah, it's frustrating just because I don't know why more people don't see that. That it's like you're wearing a mask. I get it. For whatever reason you think it's taking away your liberty, but again, my grandfather went in D-Day +3. I have no argument more than that 4 million Americans between 18 and 25 went across the ocean, fought and risked their lives in order to fight against evil, if you want to call it evil, but like domination of another nation to make sure that democracy and freedom or whatever. But all you got to do is put a fucking mask on and stay inside.
But troops are like the most unassailable entity that America has, right? Yes. And we think about it
what
in
about
terms
police? I mean,
well, not so much anymore. But like, we have memorials erected all over this country for the brave men and women of World War II who lost their lives. And now we are at the point where we're losing as many lives as we had in major world wars, where hundreds of thousands of people died. And just simple things like there was some number I saw where it was like, we're at 130,000 deaths or something right now. And we're expected to get up to 210 by the end of September, but we could cut that down to 150,000 if everyone wore a mask. Yep. Like, just the way that the virus, the way they figure, if everyone just played along, we could cut, 80,000 lives. What do you like? How is that not worth it? You would cry at the tomb of the unknown soldier, but you're not crying at the tomb of the unknown single mother who died of COVID and now has a child that's living with their grandmother in Arkansas. You know, like,
and I mean, we have surpassed, by the way, the deaths in World War I. That's where we're at. Like, you know, and maybe for us that's a little old for somebody that we would have known, but like, my dad was born in 1937. He literally knew people who went over and came back, and he was growing up with those people around him that they know, people who fought in World War I. We've now surpassed that in a domestic virus transmission. Beyond me.
By the way, Tony, the number once again is 443-219-7595.
What's the number?
443-219-7595. And appreciate you joining us in the chat today.
Yep. And I mean, everybody can call, leave messages there, send us text, and that's for in between the shows.
Yeah, we're still working on our process of being able to handle live calls during the show. It's not that far away, but there's still some kinks here. So,
but looking forward to that. So, you know, we are already way longer than we assumed, but I do want to get to the last story because Baltimore, once again in the national news. Oh wait, no, not in the national news, unfortunately. But it is making local news around the area. Again, national news for pulling a statue into the harbor, but this story, nothing.
This story, fascinating though. So, member of the Baltimore Homicide Department, one of the detectives who was working on the Sean Suiter murder / suicide / homicide / shut the fuck up, whatever the hell was going on there. He had a dispute with a contractor over some work that was being done at his house. And apparently this dispute got to the point where the officer said, give me your driver's license. And then he ran his stuff and found out that he had a suspended license and said, either you give me my money back or else I can make this real problematic for you, which is I'm not totally up on the law, but that is blackmail, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's especially bad because he was on duty when he was having this conversation in uniform.
With 3 other members of the Baltimore Homicide Department. There are fucking 4 homicide detectives on the bench right now because of this nonsense.
Luckily, homicide's not a huge problem.
He drove the contractor to his bank so that he could get a $3,500 check. This is unbelievable. And the lawyer, my favorite part is the lawyer out after the arraignment or whatever it was, saying there's no criminality here. It's like, no, really? Is this a contract dispute? Like,
it's a contract dispute. Yeah, it was. And then he brought a gun into it. So
be like if Rob and I are negotiating a contract, and at some point during it's like, well, if you don't sign this thing, I'm going to murder you. Then it stops becoming a contract dispute. It becomes
still a contract dispute. Cain and Abel had a contract dispute, and Cain won. All right.
I would like to see how this lawyer handles irate customers with their contract disputes. I imagine if somebody was just like, I can make your life real fucking difficult, he's just like, are you threatening an officer of the court? How dare you, sir?
No, it just ends up in a Mexican standoff. It is like, don't worry, we're just negotiating. It's okay. It's okay. Just a simple contract dispute. But yeah, so, you know, this doesn't make national news, but the statue going in the harbor does. But once again, homicide, bit of a problem in Baltimore, and currently 4 of the maybe 12 or 15 homicide detectives on the bench.
Yeah.
Because not yours, but the understood your argument about, it's a few bad apples. Well, there was one bad apple here, the one who pulled the gun on the contractor and then kidnapped him to go to the bank and get the money. But there were also 3 other ones who stood there and didn't say, hey,
chill, Johnny, chill.
They just stood there and let it happen.
Yeah.
And I imagine one at least rode with him to the bank, right?
Yeah.
Like there was 2 cops in the car on the way to the bank. And the other
or
2
maybe
just
like
chilled
a
at the
follow
house.
car or something like that. Yeah.
Followed him, did it back to the house. Like we're just along for the ride on this. We need another season. David, we need another season of The Wire, and this needs to be a plot comedies.
point. Still my favorite line. Somebody asked Dave Simon, why we don't get a new season of The Wire based off of all the things that have happened in Baltimore in the last couple of years. And David Simon's response was, "I don't write fucking comedies," which is
yes, yeah,
chef's kiss. What a sad state of affairs.
Yep.
What really gets me is we've been having these long shows because there's so much that we got to talk about, and I feel like we never talk about all the things we need. Like at some point, I feel like we just need to have a conversation about like what's not in the news, and sort of like has anyone checked out Wall Street recently? Things seem to be going fine, even though I don't know where I'm going to get money for rent next month. That is shocking to me, and I feel like that's something we could examine at some point. If
capitalism isn't meant to benefit you, Corey.
If people would just kindly not stop getting sick all the time, and if Trump would stop commuting people, and
how about Ghislaine Maxwell is up for her arraignment tomorrow, so it's possible she's gonna decide to kill herself tonight.
Well, I think she's figured this whole thing out because she could have fled at any point. And didn't, and it seems like perhaps there was a queen for the day that happened somewhere along the way here that
I'm sure she'll be perfectly fine. Famous Italian bodyguard Hilarani Clitoni is watching her back and will make sure she gets safely to court. So,
well, we'll see. That'll be surprising news, I'm sure. So let's see where that goes.
But Corey made the point when we were discussing a lot of stuff this weekend, just like we talked a lot of shit about Trump and how dumb he is. But we also talked a lot of shit about Hillary Clinton during the campaign and how dumb she was. And then before that, we talked a lot about Obama and, killing brown children in third world. For that, well, I guess no, there was nothing before that. But
we personally talked about Bush.
Bush being dumb. We talk about when Republicans have control of Congress, how dumb they are. When Democrats have control of Congress, how dumb they are.
We say Garcetti is great 1 week, and then 2 weeks later, we're just like, this fucking idiot.
And we say SRB really screwed the pooch on this one. And then the next week we say, wow, she can get worse. Who knew? And then do your job or quit. And then she did. And then Pew took the job.
I was thinking about it earlier, too. When we were just at the start of COVID and the lockdown started and everything like that, me and you together said, neither one of us like Trump.
Yep.
Neither one of us are particularly interested in him succeeding in what he's doing. But we are rooting for him to figure it out in this moment, to rise above, to step up, to be the leader that we need, to help guide the ships. Obviously, none of that happened.
No, Fauci was there at the first press conference, and I was like, he has a scientist with him. Okay, maybe we're going to be okay.
And now Fauci will probably be fired by the time we podcast next.
Yeah.
Because they're already releasing opposition research onto Fauci to major news outlets, so it's only a matter of time. It's not that I think we are slanted one way or the other. We just like to call bullshit when we see it, and we are exceptional bullshit ball strike callers. So.
And we are ankle, knee, waist,
head,
burgeoning on neck deep in it at this point. So come on back next week for more of that.
Well, you know where you can find it next week.
Oh, where's that?
OTheAnthem.com. Core to OTheAnthem.com. O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, at LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I would like to do a new feature this week. I'm trying to find time to film it. Hopefully that is out on Thursday. And I just like thoughts on this. So if you check out the content from time to time and you enjoy it, I'm hoping to do like a sort of evergreen movie for this next project that I'm working on. So give it a shot. Tell me what you think, and let me know how I can improve upon it if you take the time to watch it for me. I would really appreciate it.
All right. And while we're here, I'd like to thank everybody who joined us in the chat. Of course, no matter where we are live, you can always comment on the stream or
applause.
Golf clap for everyone in the chat tonight. You can, of course, join the Discord directly and converse with us not only during the show, but while we're doing show prep, in between the week. Do you see a story that we should be talking about? That's where we keep the discussion. So join us over there on Discord. In the meantime, you can find me At Robert and Cheek, the other way, at Robert and Cheek on all your social networks. It's over there somewhere. That includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Tumblr, everywhere. At Robert. Oh, Parlay. At Robert and Cheek.
Parlor.
I keep saying that. God, I don't go there enough.
Let me parlay with you for a minute.
I say parlay because I'm the only voice. So it's like Pirates of the Caribbean where it's just Johnny Depp and he's like, parlay? Just nothing but conservatives there. So come and join me. New episodes of Everyman Movie Review, of course, going up bi-weekly. And by that, I mean twice a week, not every other week. Most recently, King of Staten Island and The Five Bloods. And I've been promoting Kwibi a lot. And I think the next few episodes are going to be Kwibi shows. Should you check them out? What's worthwhile? And what are my thoughts? So come over to youtube.com/Rob Cheek for my review of some Kwibi shows. Everything else is available at robertandcheek.com. You can find links.
Can I make a live on the fly suggestion for that?
Sure.
Maybe just do a Kwibi in general episode and just sort of say, like, here are 5 things I saw on Kwibi that are worth watching or something like that. As opposed to, here's an episode of Christy Teigen's court show, and this is a review of...
So I was thinking about doing a Kwibi overview with some of the stuff that I watched 1 or 2 episodes of. There are a couple series on there that they deserve their own thing.
All right.
Because basically what I want to do is to provide enough information to get somebody past episode 1. Because I feel like you're an episode 1 watcher, and then you might bail out. But I want to give you just a little bit of the whole season so that you're like, oh, I'll stick around until that thing that Rob said happens, and then see how I feel. And by the time you get there, then you're in. So
yeah.
All right. But like Chrissy Teigen show was fine. The new Punk'd was okay if you like Punk'd, but I'll talk more about it on the Kwibi show. So check it out over there.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
And if we weren't late, we'd never be here.
And if we didn't run long, we'd not have a show.